YouTube, Heir of Carthage here, back on Total War Rome 2, and this time it is going to be a siege battle, the Battle of Zarmazagatusa, whatever. That long name that one of you probably can pronounce that I can't. And this one's going to be Carthage versus Rome, so this ought to be interesting. So I don't show a ton of siege battles, and it's mainly because it's not always real easy to get siege footage. And then you always run the risk of when you play a siege battle that you're just going to end up getting like pike spammed with archers, which can actually be pretty difficult to overcome for an attacker sometimes. But no, I really do like siege battles on Rome 2. They're a lot of fun, and they're pretty cinematic here. Let's actually have some fun here. Inside the siege tower with my men. Unfortunately, you can't go up on the roof with those guys. I can zoom out a little bit, actually, but yeah. Kind of show you the siege from up here. But we should be able to go in. Which, yeah, this unit I think is under fire. We'll watch it from this angle. So, yeah, siege battles are a lot of fun, especially if you can get people to play them with certain rules or certain ways. They can really be an interesting game of cat and mouse. And when I say that, I mean like trying to bait people into traps, you know, laying out your siege works properly. I don't know if you all saw it or not, but I want to say, I can't remember if it was on Milk and Cookies Total War or the THFE Production, or TFHE, I can't remember how it goes, but it was on one of their channels. They had a pretty epic siege battle not too long ago. I left a comment on. It was really good, so if y'all want to watch some more of that, go check that out. They did a really good one. It was a giant 2v2 siege. In any case, yeah, they're a lot of fun. And if you all hear little Heir screaming here in a minute, it's because his bath time's over and he's going to be walking past. I'll mute it as he goes past, but he's not a big fan of being taken out of the bath before he's ready. And it's probably just a reality that you all might hear him every now and then. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, lovely autumn colors in the background too, huh? How about that? Heir of Carthage in the festive spirit here, I guess. Patchy. Let's get out of there. So, my army, I have 2 mercenary Samnite warriors attacking the walls here, and then I have 2 mercenary noble fighters on this side. So, pluses and minuses of bringing these units. Samnite warriors are probably a little better suited to this type of fight than the, whoops, I'm trying to get a good angle here and it's acting kind of funny. Probably a little bit better at this than, well now I got that thing in the way, than the mercenary Samnite warriors, I say that. They're a little tankier, they have more defense, they have more armor. But the mercenary noble fighters do have a lot of armor. They're just not quite as tanky. Now, they're a lot more killy than the Samnite warriors. But again, not quite as tanky, which is why I brought them in. Tanky is kind of what you want, probably, against Roman units on the wall. Something that can give them a nice long fight. The biggest problem that your mercenary noble fighters will have here against Roman units, potentially, would be that they wouldn't get a charge against the Roman units probably coming out of the siege tower, as you can see there. Let's show you the overall view. I'm sieging the walls there with 4 units. The city center is back here, and then I have this this giant tortoise thing, whatever you call it. I think it's called a tortoise, to bust down a hole in the walls. And so the reason I'm doing this is so that my opponent has to get stretched to try and fight against me. And he actually did have a couple of skirmishers, they're velites. They were on the walls. He should have removed them from the walls before my towers got there. And one of the great things about bringing these heavy siege towers is that they do have scorpions on top, and the guys will actually kill a decent number of enemy infantry. So it kind of discourages your opponent from having the best infantry on the wall. But you got to be careful because a lot of times you'll just have pikes or elite units waiting on you, just like with you corner, like screwed here in the corner. So that's why I do stuff like this. I bring some of these tortoise things in order to bust holes in the wall, and I brought an extra one just in case. Against Rome, you don't have to worry about pikes, but part of the reason you want to do this is you're going to have to be able to block these guys off. Well, little Heir is actually being quiet. He's going behind me right now. Kind of surprises me. He usually gets pretty mad at you for taking him out of the tub. But in any case, that punching a hole in the wall there is always a great thing to do. Just because it's going to force your opponent to split up more, and again, if they have a ton of pikes, it's going to be able to do a couple of things for you. Like, so a lot of times what people do if they do have pikes, they'll pike box, or they'll pike you off right here or right at the exit to one of the walls. And punching these holes in the walls makes it harder for them to defend them all. And then also with the fire at will from swordsmen, you see how my guys are up here throwing their javelins? I think this poor guy was fleeing and got javelined to death. But yeah, I mean, there's different ways you can bust the pikes. You know, if I got guys on the wall and they're trying to keep me from getting off the walls, you could always bring like a unit of javelin men up the towers and start javelining the pikes to get them away. The thing you're going to have to be careful of is if they have like a unit of like Cretan archers or Balearic slingers down here, because your guys are in the wide open and will just get slain. Anyway, so my mercenary Samnite warrior is doing a great job tanking it out here against these Hastati. And then my mercenary noble fighter over here has killed a couple of Velites and a Saki Hastati as well. And so the fight on the wall is going pretty good for me. Fairly minimal losses. I control the gate. I have a hole in the wall over here. My opponent did put down some of these caltrops. I didn't know this until this battle, but you can actually destroy the caltrops with your infantry. But as you'll notice, there's also spike traps. I really should have brought my cheaper units in here to get rid of the spike traps. But you can see some of my men are going to die exposing them. But once they're exposed, they no longer cause you any casualties that I've noticed. So this is good thinking. My opponent knew that I was going to come through this area, so load it with traps, and he doesn't even necessarily have to defend it. It'll just kind of slowly eat away at some of my men. I was surprised to not see traps here, but instead he put them, if you look closely, you can see them in the ground right here. And my opponent, I think, was hoping that I would come through this gatehouse and then into those traps as well. I think he should have saved some to put here. And then he has trapped this area as well. Again, you have to watch for this when you're in siege battles. You can actually see it better if you zoom up. You can see him from overhead. They're right there. So really, that's one thing that the defender should use to their advantage. Set up different trap points. So like, for instance, he's got the entrance. This is an interesting map. He could totally set up trap points here and here, like with the caltrops and the spike traps. And basically that would make it to where if I'm going to destroy the caltrops, I have to do it right in front of his infantry, which is always bad. But if I just try and, I can't just charge my elephants in, you know, through the caltrops. They affect your cavalry. Anyway, he sends, he's got these Saki Hastati still holding out here. My guys are finishing them off. And then my main infantry body's here. So let me introduce you to my whole army. I had two mercenary Samnites and 2 mercenary noble fighters, because again, I wanted some of Carthage's tankiest swords to help beat back some Romans. And then I brought a lot of Libyan infantry, which are just, you know, nice quality swords. I'm supporting them with 2 units of Libyan peltist, which are, you know, again, nice high armor heavy skirmishers, multiple uses. And then I've got mercenary Balearic slingers as well. And these guys were meant for their high ammo and really nice killing power. They were also meant, again, I started building a Carthage army, and then my opponent, I think, switched to Rome. I was worried about him bringing a pike faction, so I had to make sure and bring the peltist and the slingers, because if you don't, you are going to find yourself facing impenetrable pike walls in the streets, because siege battles make pikes extremely powerful, especially if you use them in the right scenarios where they can get you bottlenecked. So my opponent's kind of fighting me in waves. He had his wave on the walls. My guys have killed them. Of course, now my guys are getting more tired, and he's got gladiators waiting back here, which are a very high attack unit. And again, where they're not being used in the open field, where they don't have to worry about getting charged, these are going to be very tough units to beat here. They don't have very high armor, but they have blisteringly high attack. And again, here is Triarii are in Testudo formation, but Testudo doesn't make you invulnerable. It does make you a lot stronger versus missile fire, but you can see eventually I'm kind of picking into his formation here with the Balearic slingers. And that kind of makes sense. Like, every now and then you'd get a shot through a crack in a shield somewhere and it'd start to pick guys apart. And I could eventually kill this entire unit, but I don't use all my ammo on them. This is more so just to kind of weaken these guys up a little bit for a melee attack. And I've got plans right now. If we take a look at the overhead, you can see the city. Let me get my drawing tool off so I can do this. Yeah, so the city center is right here. I'm actually going to use the red because it's probably more visible. City center, well, none of them's visible from up here because it's shaded. That's the city center. This is the trapped area that he has set up here, but there's a tower to capture that I want to capture right there. And then if you haven't noticed, there's like a line right back through here where you can actually go behind those buildings. It is passable. So right now the biggest problem I have is that I don't necessarily want to take my elephants straight into these Triarii because they're going to get hit with javelins. So his guys in this position can throw javelins at my elephants as they try and come through his Triarii, who could go into a square formation. So what I'm going to do is break off a couple of my infantry to come over here and spring his spike traps. I'm going to capture this tower with my peltist, and what I hope to do is to draw some of his men, either draw them out. Oops, crap, I'm going to keep it on the green one because it's easiest to see. I hope to either draw his men out against me or force them back into the town center. But my opponent's going to have basically traps set up here, and then eventually I want to take these infantry over here, capture this gatehouse, and then roll on into the city center. So in the end, obviously, I want to attack the city center from this direction and this direction. So anyway, that's kind of the overhead view of the scenario. And I am in the process of right now. So he sends his gladiators up, and it actually starts causing some pretty big trouble for my mercenary Samnite warriors. Again, though, the gladiators are getting nice kills. You can see up to 15 kills, even pretty much surrounded. But still, they're good units. And it's at this point, again, I'm starting to split my troops off, and you can see me come over here, and I'm kind of making my plan for how to bust this defensive position. But again, there's all kinds of places. Like, I could walk behind here if I want, and then get behind my opponent here. But, you know, I kind of want to use this position, because if my opponent gets mad and comes out after me, I can have troops here and here to counter him. So that's kind of the idea. You want to pull them out of their defensive positions, and if I capture this tower, it's going to start shooting arrows at these troops here. And again, it's either going to force them back or force them to come out and try and stop me from capturing it. But I'm going to also end up having to capture this gatehouse, because it'll sit here and shoot at my men from this direction. But here we go, check out this. This is going to be a pretty entertaining piece of the battle. I want to get this down on street view with you here, kind of like Google, I guess. So Google elephant view. So I send my elephants through the alley, and my opponent, all he has to stop me at the moment is gladiators. So he does send them in, and their formation does get compacted some because they're in the alley, but the elephants will be able to push through these guys. So yeah, I'm going to hop out of that view real quick and then come over here into just a free camera. So yeah, I can see his gladiators getting pushed back. They were trying to bottleneck me, and if I just let my elephants sit there, it is possible the gladiators might start to get some kills because they're so have such high attack. But as soon as my elephants break free, I turn on trample, and that's to make sure that I can just bust straight through this hastati. And you can see that those guys got bowled over bad. And then now I'm going to make a break right back here for my opponent's troops. I've engaged these triarii with mercenary noble fighters, and now my opponent's in trouble because he's got these other hastati units. And you might be thinking, Air, why did he bring so much hastati? Hastati are actually pretty cost effective. You get less money as a defender than you do as an attacker, and it allows my opponent to bring more units to field against my men. And of course, he's using his hastati for all the initial rounds. Remember that I can't see all my opponent's troops. Well, actually, I can now. He's got all of these Principes waiting here in the town square. Principe is a great unit for the price, and so my opponent has a lot of them waiting in the town center in reserve. And that means I have to still get through a triarii here. And again, you can see my noble fighters and Samnite warriors coming off of the walls to engage his gladiators over here. And the gladiators putting up a magnificent fight along with some hastati. But like any unit, they tend to not fare so well when getting rear charged by angry elephants. So it's going to pretty much destroy all these units here. So effectively, my elephants have played a huge role here. And because my opponent got his velites killed early in the fight, he has a very difficult time countering my elephants. And again, this is part of the reason why I have to bring the Balearic Slingers and the Libyan Peltist. I have to have a way to either, one, get rid of pikes, or two, screen for my elephants. Because if I can't screen for the elephants, they'll get destroyed easily by focused either javelin fire or by archer fire. Now, when I say javelin fire, I'm referring to both skirmishers and swordsmen. A good volley of Pilla from a stationary legion unit could do a lot of damage to elephants, a lot. And then other units that have more javelins can be very dangerous, like, for instance, Thurio spears, which the Romans don't have. I'm just giving an example. Thurio spears are actually very effective at killing elephants. Lusitani guerrillas with their javelins also can kill a lot of elephants. Even Iberian swordsmen, who have a lot of javelins, can kill elephants. Royal Peltist. There's a ton of these different units that I can give you examples of. Check it out, that guy just got smacked. My elephant men are throwing javelins at these poor routing hastati. I should have taken their fire at will off. But instead, they're getting javelins thrown at them by the guys on elephant back. I think these guys make it away. But yeah, anyway, entertaining fight. Let's go over here and check it out. So he sent his general. Again, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, hey, these guys are skirmishers, so my horsemen can kill them. Not heavy skirmishers like these guys. So the enemy general actually just got routed by my skirmishers. Yes, I took losses, but my guys lived. And then I get to rear charge this hastati. Again, he sent out the hastati because I was pestering him. I have these Iberian swordsmen that have a lot of javelins, and I've let them sit here and throw all their javelins at this Triarii unit. And because of that, I've already killed 30 Triarii with my Iberian swordsman before I've ever even engaged the swordsman. So I just kind of keep my men out here to keep them fixed because there's Principes behind. That's not the kind of fight that I want. But again, I've used my javelins from the swordsman to get a lot of kills on units that are otherwise a lot more expensive. And then I'm going to bring these Peltists up here, and I'm going to position them right here. And I'm going to start throwing javelins over this Triarii and into the flank. And this is the unshielded flank of this Principe. And I'm going to keep them fixed from this direction with my Libyans. So basically I'm fighting this battle from as many angles as I can in order to try and break up my opponent's focus from any one position, basically. So again, here come the flank javelin fires. So javelins don't do a ton of damage to infantry like they used to, but from the flank they absolutely will. And this is again the unshielded flank of the Romans, so it's going to be particularly damaging because they're going to have the least protection from this position. You can see the Romans actually have their Pilla out, trying to get shots at my Libyans, but their own comrades are in the way. The model on the Pilla there is pretty cool looking. Romans have some sweet javelins. And the javelins that the Iberian swordsmen throw are pretty cool as well. They look kind of like a Pilla unit, but not quite as heavy. So, very interesting here. Yeah, I mean, look at these Principes taking massive losses. Already down to 83 men, dropping fast. And these Peltists have really paid dividends in this battle. Getting rid of the enemy general, capturing a tower for me. And you can see just how many kills they've affected on this Principe unit. And now it has to enter combat weakened against my Libyan infantry. I did take my Libyan infantry out of formation attack while the Romans stay in formation attack, and it's hopefully so my guys can split up and dig into the enemy lines a little better. They're doing very well. And over here I use my Balearic slingers to come and capture this gatehouse. Yes, it's going to get some of them killed, but at this point we're doing alright. And then over here I'm letting some of my mercenary noble fighters and Samnites rest, and then I'm kind of saving this unit of mercenary noble fighters for the end. And then I have a unit of Libyans over here that's fresh too, so I'm kind of keeping reserves. And then I've got my Iberian swordsmen that I haven't thrown into combat here either. Now, I'm about to run my elephants into these Triarii, but I get worried here because these legionary cohort were throwing javelins. So I got to be careful here. I try and charge in between javelin volleys from the legionary cohort, and then I'm just going to keep plowing through infantry. So when you use your elephants, you kind of have to imagine them like chariots. You just want to use them to completely disrupt enemy formations. And see, now that the enemy formation's disrupted, I'm going to attack with my infantry. Now, in real life, this is probably, and again, I wasn't around for any ancient battles, but I'm guessing this is probably really the purpose that elephants served, was to break up enemy formations and to spread fear. Now, in the game, your elephants will get a lot of kills, regardless of whether it's historically accurate. I have no idea what elephants did historically, but I'm imagining that they were more of a fear and disruption weapon. Yeah, in any case, now I've broken through all the enemy defenses here, so one piece at a time. And again, you can see the Roman throwing their javelins. I've got to keep my elephants at a safe distance from those javelins. My Libyan infantry, though, are being hit pretty hard. But now there's only 3 Principes left, and I can move these units onto the town square. And as I start to drop this flag down, it'll take away a morale buff that the Romans get. Basically, that's the only thing keeping them in the green right now, is the morale buff that they get from this town center. They're going to start losing that, though. And then over here, I've got overwhelming numbers against this Principe, so it's not going to survive. And then I've got my elephants in reserve as well. Now, on the town square over here, this will be kind of a cool charge to watch. I've got mercenary Samnite warriors and mercenary noble fighters about to square off against Principes. These guys, though, are starting to lose their nerve. And my mercenary noble fighters are going to get a charge now that they're in open ground, which means that the Romans are going to suffer badly at their hands. And the mercenary Samnite warriors still had javelins as well. So here, let's watch this charge. Yeah, the charge is brutal. And then my mercenary Samnites also get a very nice charge, and these Romans aren't going to last too terribly long. Yeah, noble fighters are fantastic infantry. Even Samnite warriors serve their purpose. Don't expect them necessarily to tank out kills quickly, but in the right scenarios, they can get a lot of kills. So you see how I was able to use them against a unit like Hastati. They will do very well in that fight. Now, if you try and use them against a unit like Avocati cohort, or even just a standard legionary cohort, they won't do as good. Again, they're fairly tanky, but don't expect big kills out of them like a mercenary noble fighter. They can get a lot of kills. As you see, my guys got kills here. They just have to be in the right situation. This was a fun siege. Really appreciated my opponent here. It was a fun battle. I do feel like there was times where he could have definitely challenged me a lot more with my elephants. My elephants racked up 500 kills to no losses. So for some of you who think elephants are out of the game, they are not. Are they easier to kill than chariots? Absolutely. Chariots are very difficult to kill. And I know there's still those people who are going to be screaming at me, Air, they're so easy to kill. The pro players do it all the time. Well, first of all, not to be offensive to anybody, and I guess you all have seen the stats here, so I'm going to move on. What is a pro player in Rome 2? There is no pro circuit in Rome 2. There's no official pro circuit. Now, there's players out there that I think are very talented, and I've watched some of them, but just because you play in a tournament or win a tournament doesn't make you a pro. Are there players out there who are better than others? Absolutely. And are there players who try to play this game like a pro in the sense that they focus on it? Yeah, absolutely. There's players out there. And generally speaking, those players will be better at pulling stuff off than the common player. What I'm stating as a fact here is that for your standard average player, chariots are very difficult to kill while being very easy to use. Again, you can try and counter me and say, well, the pro players, I get it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, again, coming from the viewpoint of the average casual player in this game, chariots are a much lower risk than elephants. Now, that said, let me get back to the conversation of elephants. Elephants are still very good in the game. They can kill a lot of infantry. You just have to be careful about how you use them. Don't charge your elephants towards sword infantry who are lined up with javelins, or thurio spears for that matter. You have to pin or distract these units first. Don't charge your elephants in before enemy archers are distracted. Again, even if it's just a temporary distraction, like a sacrificial one, like a light cav just to chase off the enemy archers for a second. That's all you need. It doesn't take long for the elephants to do their business. And I don't mean pooping. I mean killing the enemy troops. Well, they may poop on the enemy troops at the same time. It's hard to say. But in any case, yeah, elephants are still great. Just be careful how you use them. And I wish that chariots were a little more similar to that in the sense that they were a little easier to kill. I don't want them to be a lot easier to kill because then they wouldn't serve a purpose, but they do seem very screwy sometimes. As far as sometimes it's like I'll throw a few javelins and they're dead, and then the next time they just rampage across my whole army. They don't seem to be as predictable as elephants. Now, some people think elephants are a little too weak in this patch, and they may be right, but actually I think I'm okay with them the way they are. They're a very high reward, but for a very high risk, and you have to use them very carefully. And again, I'm not saying chariots aren't a risk reward. I've been through this conversation a second ago, so I won't rehash it. I'm just saying for the average player, it's a lot easier to get the reward out of them than it is for elephants. Anyway, that's the only place I'm going with it. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I will try and bring you similar siege battles as often as I can. Some of you want some team siege battles. We can try that. Just know that those games sometimes get very laggy. Especially if I'm playing with people from overseas. So that's part of the reason why I don't do a lot of these either. Some of you want to see a river crossing or, like an unfortified city assault. I'll try and do some of those too. Again, they're just not as easy to get because when you go host that type of game, most people don't want to join a river battle because they think you're going to be some troll sitting on the other side with pikes and a crap load of artillery or archers. And it's like, hey, this is fun. I get to march into pikes while being shot with all this crap. So it's just not real easy to always get people to join that because they're going to be suspect of your intention when you're doing that type of thing. Will I do it? Sure. I'll try and get you some of it. I like playing all these different types of battles. Air, when is Nile Naval Football coming back? As soon as I get an opportunity. Again, it's not another one of those ones that's easy to just host. Be like, hey, come play naval football. People will be like, what the crap is that? Not everybody watches my videos, so it's. I have some plans in place, though. In fact, on Halloween, I'm going to have a bit of a special event planned for that Friday if I'm at home. I don't know that I will be. If not, I will do it sometime soon after Halloween. But keep an eye on it. That's October 31st for any country who doesn't do Halloween. And we'll do some kind of event then, so keep an eye out for it. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing off for now.